Hi guys, I'm here at the 2K booth and I'm talking to Jake Solomon, who's the lead designer for XCOM Enemy Unknown. And for those out there that aren't familiar with this cult classic franchise,
Ooh, there's nobody like
Do-
that. I
maybe-
refuse the question. Just
maybe one or two.
Yeah, okay,
Explain
alright.
what the premise is.
So XCOM Enemy Unknown, it's a reimagining of a game that is 20 years, almost 20 years old at this point. And so the idea is that people are being taken around the world. People are being snatched off of the streets of major cities around the world. And the governments are not strong enough to stand up against this new force. And so they create this ultra secret military organization with soldiers from all over the world that is going to fight all over the world, and you are the commander of that organization. So you control the combat troops in combat, in like turn-based tactical combat, and then you also run the base, which is this big underground base where you have research and engineering, and you're building things, and you're researching alien artifacts. And so it's a very, very big, deep game.
Cool. Now, how did you decide upon what features to keep and what kind of replace compared to the original game?
Trial and error. No, I'm a very hardcore fan of the original game, and so for me, it was very difficult to find things to pull out. And in some senses, being such a fan of the original is sometimes it helps and sometimes it kind of hurts because I love the original so much. So what I did was I basically identified, 8, 9, 10 things where I said these have to be in the game. And then everything else we can sort of play with, change, and see if it's better. And we only change things if we actually put it in the game, we played it, and after playing we said, hey, this is better than the original. So I think we changed some subtle things, and some of how the mechanics work, those are pretty much different, but in terms of how the overall game plays, you still get the same experience as the original.
So what are those 10 things you really want to keep?
Oh my god, all right, let's see. All right, you have environmental destruction. So our levels can be destroyed. All the levels can be ripped apart by grenades and rocket launchers. That allows the battlefield to be nice and emergent. You have the fog of war, so you can't see the enemies. Like there's a very real 3D fog of war, so as you move around the map, you can reveal more of the map. Permadeath, incredibly important. Your soldiers, this is very strange, but your soldiers can actually die in XCOM. So if you make a mistake in XCOM, these soldiers that you have leveled up, that you spent all this time with, that you've customized, they can die. And when they die, they're gone for good. And so that creates this real emotional investment in your soldiers, and it creates this real tension in combat. Then there's, the interplay between the strategy layer and the tactical layer, things like research, sort of advancing through the game, being able to integrate alien technology into your new weapons and armor and things like that, and then probably some other things. But that's sort of like the base. Those are like the pillars of the game.
What about new features that you are excited about?
Oh, well, there is multiplayer, which we're showing off at Gamescom for the first time. There's a couple things new at Gamescom, actually. First time we're showing off the PC interface for our game, which is pretty different from the console interface, because this being not being an action game or a shooter, it's much harder. In fact, I'd say it's probably impossible to actually port from one to the other. So we had to have two parallel developments of different UIs. And so showing our PC UI off for the first time is very exciting. And then multiplayer, which is tactical combat between two squads. And these squads are actually built up using points. So each player gets a certain number of points, and they use those points to buy aliens, soldiers, whatever they want, and mix them together in crazy squads.
Is there any co-op mode?
There is no co-op. It is simply to the death. This is no time to be friends. This is just ruthless, bloodthirsty deathmatch.
Well said. What about the competitive multiplayer? Is that like e-sporty perhaps, or how do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean it is. We've got this interesting balancing is actually pretty cool. So since we have this point cost, we don't have to tweak the abilities of the units. Like for me, it's always tough when you get to use a unit, you get to know them, you get to know how they operate, and then some balance patch comes through and it changes how they work. Well, in our game, we will not change how the units work. We will simply raise and lower the point cost of that unit, and so we can make them more expensive, less expensive, and we are tracking everything. So the minute this game goes out the door, we will see like, hey, this unit is winning most matches, and we can bump the point cost up and down. We don't even have to patch the game. We just change them dynamically on the fly. We can change the point values a million times, and it won't require patches. So yeah, the game is on a turn timer, so it's turn-based, but it moves pretty quickly. Matches are about 20 minutes or so, and it's just really, really fun. Because it's turn-based, it's not about how fast you can click. It's more about how fast you can think.
Cool. Now you mentioned the consoles. How are you making sure that the experience is on par without dumbing it down?
Yeah, I mean that was important for us. Is that we wanted to make a game that has complete feature parity across all the platforms. So the game is as deep as the original, and we're very proud of that. And so what we had to do is make sure that it feels natural in the when you're playing with a gamepad, it feels natural. And along those lines, if you play on PC, you can play both mouse and keyboard, or you could plug a gamepad in and play it on PC. But yeah, the gamepad, I think the thing that helps us there is that it's turn-based, so you're only ever controlling one soldier at a time. So the input's actually not too complicated. It's been fun to see guys who are only console gamers, guys and girls who never played the original, when they play our game, it's very smooth and natural for them.
So how has the feedback been from the hardcore XCOM fan base?
It's been surprisingly good. I mean, whenever you do something like this, you get, there are people who are concerned, and I don't blame them. I mean, I totally understand where they're coming from. I mean, they know the original game was incredible. It had an incredible value, and so if they hear we're tinkering with something, it's only fair for them, until they've actually played our game, it's only fair for them to say, like, I don't know that I like the sound of that. But the good news is that now the game's almost done. Like, we're in a really, I really know that once people get their hands on this, once hardcore fans get their hands on this, they're gonna love it. And so now I'm not so worried about that anymore. So I understand where they're coming from, and all I can say to them is, please just let me put it in your hands.
And when will you put it in their hands, so to speak?
October 12th, internationally on PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, and then October 9th in North America.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And that's all from XCOM at Gamescom. Check it out, guys.